everybody, Mike Beckley here. We're going to teach you how to I'm going to show you how I tie my Green Drake dry fly cripple. The hook we're using is a freshwater 531. It's the Ahrex Sedge hook. It's great for flies like the durette or the animal, and it's actually a very stout hook. It's a little longer than your traditional dry fly hook, and it's great for these bigger flies. We're going to use a number 10 here, and we're going to get going. I am using a white olive thread. We're going to tie on our thread, and we're going to advance it back. Just about to the point of the hook. The tail we're going to use is a white Pardo CDC or Coque de Leon. Rip off a good amount. I'm going to tie those in. This is a very large dry fly. Make sure that you don't go too out of control with your proportions, or you'll have a really big profile fly. The Green Drake is a big fly, but you don't want to go too crazy. We're going to secure in our hook. From that point, we're going to tie in a white turkey biot. Tied in at the tip. And once we get everything tied in, we're going to advance our thread forward. I didn't trim anything off because it is a long hook, and everything was able to be hidden and tied up nice to create the profile of the body. I'm going to come all the way up, and we're going to leave a little space right before the eye. And that'll come into play later on, but just remember, don't rush the head and come all the way to the eye. For the wing, I'm using 3 light CDC feathers and 1 white, or white olive and 1 white. Once again, it's a big profile fly. You don't want to make your fly too big, so kind of watch your proportions on this. Stack your hackles, lay them on top of the hook. And when you like that happy spot where they're at for the wing, you can begin to lash them down. Lash them down on top of the hook and start working back. At that point, I like to check and make sure I did leave myself some space in the eye of the hook. We're going to take our tying thread and our wing material. We're going to slip it under there, and we're going to kind of post that wing a little bit. And what's that going to do, it's going to get all those materials out of your way for when you want to finish your head later on. It's easier to finish your head under the wing without all that material built up. Double check, give yourself a look, and that's the space we want to create for the final fly. I'm going to trim this material off, lash it down, and we're going to be creating our taper for our body. This is an 8/0 thread, depending on what size you're using. You might have to go back and forth a few times. Touch your turns, keep it tight. If you are using a Biot, you don't want to go too big and too thick because you'll run out of material. However, if that happens, we're going to put a small Thorax on it to correct any problems we may have there. I'm going to put a little bit of super glue on our body, and that's going to hold the Biot in place. I like to use a pair of Hackle pliers to wind this. The reason I use olive thread under the white body is because it doesn't come out too beaming white. It dulls that whiteness down just a little bit. And you can leave a little space in there to show some segmentation. Once you run out your Biot, you want to cross your tying thread over, I try a couple of loose wraps, make sure it's bit, and I come down and I start really lashing that material down. We're going to use some real fine white olive dubbing. I'm going to cover up any mistakes we have with the end of that Biot, or if we have to extend our body just a little bit, and that'll fill in that void to where our hackle is going to meet our wing. You just want to keep on coming forward, touch your turns, keep it nice. And you want to leave yourself a good amount of real estate for your hackle. If you've ever seen a picture of a cripple before, there's a good hackle base on that. And we want to do the same. We're going to use a light, unique variant hackle, and we're going to tie that in. Don't forget to leave yourself a little space, so when you start winding it, it winds nicely. I prefer to tie it slightly back on an angle to where I know I'm going to get my wraps to go the way I want them to go. And I will run that stem all the way out to the head. Trim your stem off. Come back over and clean up any areas that you have, any bumps or any voids that you may not like. From that point, turn your hackle forward. See, my stem's a little thick. On this thicker fly, or this bigger fly, I'm sorry, you have to use a little thicker hackle. So you have to work the rachis a little bit just to get her to comply with you. And there she goes. I'm just going to run that forward. Be careful with hackle selection on this fly. It is a big fly, but you're also building up the body between the wing and the thorax and the biot. So you don't want to end up with too big of a wing on this fly. Whereas on a clink hammer you would go one size above the hook. On this fly I would go the exact size or step down one. Don't worry, the size and diameter of your body from all that material built up, it will finish off in the appropriate size. I run that right up into the wing. I catch my hackle with my thread. Make sure you keep your hackle fibers clear. Now I'm going to put my fingers in the way, but I'm going to explain to you what I'm doing, because this is a critical, in my opinion, a critical part of this fly. The reason I leave that head, that little bit of an area in there, and I'm not going to be afraid to pull that wing up and manipulate it, but I like to get my hackle at least one wrap behind that eye. And that just ensures, and it will slip, that just ensures that that hackle is locked in positively in the front and the back of the wing. If you get any weak materials, you get a fish that goes a little erratic or whatnot, you have one extra tie-in point on that wing, and that is going to increase the durability of your fly. Maybe for one fish, maybe for 100 fish, I don't know, but that little extra step is worth it in my opinion. Just take your time. I got a little CDC cotton there, and that's fine because you're never going to see that, and it's not going to affect the fly. You can use a whip finisher on here, but anybody that knows how to use a whip finisher knows not always are they appropriate in tight spaces. Better way to finish this fly, whether it's UV glue, I have super glue handy, just a tiny little area. And what we're going to do is we're going to get a half hitch tool. These things are priceless for this type of fly. And if you're not tying a lot of these, you're not used to it, it's almost foolproof, and it'll save you a lot of headaches of breaking thread, building your head's too big, all kind of things. I put 3 in there, and with the super glue on top of that, that thread's locked in there. Give her a pull, she is not going anywhere. So now you have a big profile fly. That fish is very delicate, looks very delicate, but because you secured the body with super glue and you secured the head in 2 anchor points and solidified that wing, you have the durability of a workhorse fly. That's going to present itself very delicate, float very delicate, and hopefully clean that fishing hole out that you're at. Thank you so much for watching. You have a good day. Thank you. Bye-bye.